Good morning. I got my little coffee cup here. It says, top of the morning to ya. Anyways. I am doing much better this morning. Look, I can bend my neck, go look this way, look right, look left, look up, look down. Of course, there's still a little bit of inflammation. I hope by the time I gotta go get my medicine today. I was reading what they gave me, and it's prednisone, doxycycline, and keto Rolac or whatever. And basically, of course, one is a steroid, one is like an antibiotic, and the other one's kind of like a mild pain relief that also works with inflammation. It helps get rid of inflammation, which my body was inflamed. I had bugs. It was like I had bugs inside me. I had to get rid of. I always tell people when they're they're always talking about guns and they need protection and shit like that. I was like, look, your worst enemy is not going to be another human being. For one, your worst enemy is yourself. Okay? And second, we live in a nasty ass world that has what is unseen to the eye will take you down. So most don't have to worry about war or whatever like that. What's going to take them down is a little bitty microscopic, bugs that invade your system and make you sick. Sickness. I don't care what kind of badass gangs you have. And that's why it's ironic, is those people that are gangbangers and shit like that, when they make it out of that and they think they're like, oh, I walked away from that shit. No. You never walk away from your past. Never. Believe me, there is consequences to every action. You reap what you sow, and you might be able to go a long time, but never think you got away from those consequences, because you will meet that death. Just because you do a life change doesn't mean you do a heart change. And of course, most of the time, if you don't have that death, then you'll watch your child have that death. I say to all those out there that are messing with guns, being gangbangers, there's always consequences to your actions. And when you mess around with a gun, that affects up to 3 generations. And if you hurt somebody else's child, then you will lose a child or grandchild yourself. And it might not be to a gun, it might be to disease or, some other unfortunate accident, but you will lose that child. That's why so many now are going to be losing their grandchildren. And they don't announce it on the news or the media, but there is a high child, mortality rate going on right now. High. I love children, so I don't, I talk to the spirits about it all, because, I don't think the children should have to reap the consequences of what their grandparents or their parents did. And even when it comes to my own children, I have reaped what I sown in full, because I have prayed, cried, and received my own blows instead of them going to my children. My children have had to go through their own trials and tribulation and tests, because that's what we all do when we walk in this world. It's to help us grow. However, I don't want my children to reap anything that I have sown. That's just it. So, and I don't want them to reap what their father sown or their grandparents or whatever like that. And that's why I sit there and I speak the truth to those spirits, devils, and demons that come to use those as instruments around me. And I see different outcomes. Like, I see my children in different lives. And I don't know if they've lived those lives or those were possible possible life, if they continued in a direction that would be what their life is like. And I've seen different scenarios. And so, I try to talk to them and reach out to them. However, there's many, when someone is not completely protected, or they don't if you're not aware, then spirits and devils and demons can enter your body and they can talk for you, they can use you as an instrument, they can program you, and they don't care. They're just here to, experience life and use the human flesh as, to basically do their bidding. And if you allow it, then they will take your body over completely. Like, there's been plenty of people that have went on some kind of, rampage or rage, drug induced, or, and they've hurt people and they've done that, and you see their faces and they don't, it's not them, even in those people televised court, you'll see them and they're not them. The demons don't, and devils don't leave them until they're facing their consequences, which is jail or execution or whatever. And nobody's innocent, nobody's a victim. They call upon that. However, they were used as an instrument. And that's just the truth. I was used as an instrument when I went to called myself a Christian. I was used as an instrument. I was used. That's why I don't call upon Jesus anymore. I don't call him Lord or anything like that, because I was used as a messenger and this and that. And, and he didn't give a fuck about, my heart. He didn't give a fuck about my mind. He didn't give a fuck about my spirit. He didn't give a fuck about my body. I don't, until I cast him out. And that's just the truth of it. That's what religion is. It's brainwashing. It's programming of a being that sits there and uses others for their own crusade. And Jesus' crusade was to save mankind through messages and blah, blah, blah. And I finally cast him out. And, yes, he is a being. And yes, I have love for him, but I am not going to do his fucking bidding. I'm not here to save man or their kind. And, I know a lot of people, they don't like to hear me speak. But that's just the truth of it. I don't think Jesus is anything good. And even in Scripture, he says he's nothing good. I do believe he was, son of what others called a god. However, I believe he is a fallen son. That's just what I see. Any that disregards other people's lives and thinks they're insignificant to serve their purpose or what they think is a greater purpose is an asshole. Because they don't consider it. My mind wasn't my own for such a long time. And when I tried to, plead or whatever like that, there was no disregard. So Jesus has nothing for his mother. That's just the truth of it. You know, if you look in the religions of men, they disregard women in every way. They have no love for them. They used them, they abused them, they exploited them. That's all the histories of all the religions of men. You can't sugarcoat that shit. You can't overwrite that shit. That's just who they are. That is why I praise no God in men's name, because they have no love for me. So why the fuck do I need to do their bidding or try to save them? Now I'll talk truth and I'll show kindness, love, consideration. But I am not in the game of saving and manning their kind, because they're overrunning this world and they make it a shitty place. Plus, what are you saving? You can't save anything. You can just draw more in to do a bidding. And I'm not going to be a part of a body, this body of Jesus. You know, I am the heart of Christ, the mind of Christ, the body of Christ, the spirit of Christ. However, I am independent of all those that call themselves Christian or Muslim or Jewish or whatever. I don't want to be a part of their body. I rejected them. And that's what I say to all out there. Be careful of which body you claim to belong to. Because they're just trying to get you to come back to their body because they fell and they're trying to seek life again through programming and brainwashing. And they're about to go to their second test. And all those that are going to be left are those that are independent of those bodies. Look, all those people that call themselves Christians, they're going to receive the second death. Those that call themselves Muslims are going to receive the second death. All those that are part of the churches, I don't care whose name they're praising or worshiping, they're going to receive the death as their gods. Their gods, the gods of man, are all of the dead world. They're not of life because they give no life. They're not of the fruits of the Spirit. Because those who have the fruits of the Spirit and carry the heart of Christ do not want praise or worship at all. They're just lights unto the world. They're not of that mindset, heart set, spirit set, body set. They're independent. Those are going to be the ones left standing. Because they separated themselves away from those dead bodies. They came out of them. I see much, and I'm trying to put it together, you know, and I would probably put it together faster if, you know, I enjoyed reading the text of man, but I don't. Like, all the religions of men have the keys in them, they're just written over. And that's why I tell the spirits, I was like, if you're going to show me something, you know, do it in a way that is, you know, fun to learn. Like, kids nowadays have so much that, you know, I was watching this video on the body, and it was done in this cute animation of this boy that gets hurt all the damn time, and of course it talks about, you know, if he gets a scrape or cut and what goes on the healing and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, that's stupendous. That's awesome. Teaching children, the truth about their bodies and to be concerned about their bodies and, that it's not magic that heals us and stuff like that. And, basically what it does is it takes the fear out of, in the unknown out of the body, which all should know about the body. I think there should only be like certain facilities, and they should be 24/7, not hospitals, but smaller facilities that are open 24/7 for injury, like bones or, impalement. You never know what can happen, and those places should be open. And, just to kind of fix people up. And then, with long-term care, our society needs to change. Like, I know here in the States, United States, what they used to have is mental hospitals everywhere. And of course, it was lucrative for them to have those people in there. And then when that stopped being so lucrative, they started coming up with ways to, kind of disperse those people. And now, what they have is a lot of people on the streets that are mentally not capable of, coping with the environment around them. And they just give them a check because it's cheaper. That's what a lot of states have done, is they just give them money and they're on the streets. That's what America does. Their nursing homes are the same way. Like, only the rich, those that own houses and stuff like that can afford it. And those that are getting the free, what they thought was free, was like Medicaid and Medicare, means is that they're, once they pass away, that property is, it goes to the state. It goes back to the state. I had this one man, I'm not going to call him a gentleman or whatever, but he was a paraplegic. He was paralyzed basically from the neck up, but he could kind of move his arm a little bit. And, he was such a disgusting creature. He would sit there and, he was just this shit. He was disgusting in every way. And he was like, he thought he was going to leave the house to his niece. And I was like, you get Medicaid or something. He was on some stuff. And I was like, your property is going to go to the state, because it doesn't matter what your will says. If that person cannot pay off certain bills or whatever, then they go to the state. But he lived in a delusional world, as in most that I do run into do. However, the majority of them being men, because they think that they are above law, or they just live in a fantasy state. And most of the time it's, with women. Which I don't fucking understand that. I really don't understand why there is no loyalty in men. Like, at all. A dog is a man's best friend. Because simply man and dog act the same fucking way. And if a man doesn't keep a dog, then I kind of, see what's going on. And usually if he doesn't have a dog, then he has someone else in his life. He has a bitch in a different form. Being loyal to his ride or die, whether it be male or female. And those people just make me sick to my stomach. I'm like, and basically it's a demon. Like, if you got someone next to you that's a ride or die, and they're with you no matter what you're doing, cheating, stealing, lying, or whatever, and y'all are going around being the worst of the worst, then you're keeping company with your demon. And they're your ride or die simply because they're already dead. And they're just waiting for you to leave the body too. Together forever. That's basically what it is. I've had lots of spirits and stuff around me, especially devils and demons that will, they've literally tried to take me out. And I'm like, because they have no love. They don't care about my life experience. They don't care about, how my heart feels. They don't care about how my mind feels. They don't care about how my spirit feels. They don't care about my body. They just try to mislead me. Um, they don't care. They don't care if I receive death in body. They don't care. I was up in Oregon, and I was up there because I wanted, I just was traveling around, and it was beautiful. I loved Oregon. And of course, I would go around and I was looking for certain shrooms to try for just edibles, not to trip out, but just those that are good to eat. And, the spirit led me around. And, I would come across things that were rare to find, and they were deadly. Like, I was sitting there digging up these ones, and I thought they were truffle shrooms or whatever like that, but they weren't. They were the bad ones that can kill you if you eat them. And I tried to take them up to the store and see what I had, and they didn't know. And then finally, and my phone wouldn't work very good for identifying things up there. And lo and behold, it was some deadly shit. I've been through a lot in this world. And those out there, when people say you're crazy or whatever, they just don't know. They don't know the truth about this world. They're just living in man's societies. They don't think outside their societies. They don't know about the spirit world. They don't know about devils. They don't know about demons. They don't know that there's something, under the flesh, that what you see is not what you get in this world. If you don't pay attention to other people's actions, words, thought process, if you're not paying attention to them, then you will get eaten alive. If you take everybody at face value, and I know a lot out there do, they do. Like, there's a lot of men that will just look at my flesh, but they're not seeing what's underneath it all. I was like, and they need to pay attention. So do women, because they don't know who they're entertaining. They don't. Underneath the flesh, you don't know who you're entertaining. So you need to pay attention. And the churches will mislead you, of religion, the politics of man will mislead you, the celebrities will just need to mislead you because they're all trying to eat you up to get that second chance of life. They think if they mislead the spirits that they'll get that spirit. They think if they're, if a spirit pledges to them or whatever, then it'll go into their body and it'll give them life. But that's not true. However, they mislead that spirit. They're not going to get a second life. They think they are, but they're not going to get a second life. They've been working on it to try to turn the world or return time, but the truth is you can't. Once you reap your consequences, those are your consequences. You're done. The whole point in this world is to grow and learn, and so the door will open up to you. They just don't like their door. That's why they're waiting for their second death. But they don't really receive true death. They're just not going to be gods anymore because they've already thrown that away. it's like you have to prove yourself. Like you have to start from a certain place, and then it's a series of choices on what door opens up to you later on in life. You know, like I see foxes and owls and stuff like that. It's like, because it's just a cycle of life. If you make piss poor choices as a human, you can knock yourself back down to a microscopic level of being. If you make good choices and you rise, then you rise. It's all about choices. It has nothing to do with religion or politics or the misleading. Those are just the fallen, what they proclaim themselves as to be gods, and they go all the way back. Like you see them, humans dig them up all the time, and they're the same thing that's going on today. You know, the old religions are just the same ones. I would enjoy to speak to someone that is aware and awake just as I am. But they're not. And there are those beings that are on a different level than the mankind, you know, with the flesh coverings. However, they are being manipulative. You know, they're still trying to be deceptive, and they're trying to play a con game because they think that they're going to come out on top. They're so prideful and egotistical that there's no talking to them at all. And they fell out of their worlds into this one. I don't understand what it is about this world. I think it's where everybody was born. The mother, I think this world is completely the mother. And all those that fell from their worlds into the mother. They didn't treat their worlds right. Like, if you look at the worlds like Mars, Venus, if you look at them, they were all, at one time, they were beautiful places. The so-called gods of them fell because they had no love for their world. They had no respect for their mother. They didn't honor their mother, so they fell down into this world. Which I think is the underworld. I really do. And it was just given a cover to be for the spirits and stuff. I think that's when we can receive heaven or hell here. It depends on how we move about it. And it says that before we receive complete hell is that we will be, you know, basically removed from the flesh, and I just believe we'll be killed out before we have to, you know, endure that. However, it's so close. Right now, with the environment of the world, it's so close. Everything is on the brink of hell. And nobody's paying attention. Because of religion has fucked everything up. It's taken the truth and distorted it. And acted like hell is a separate place. And it's not. Heaven and hell are not separate. It's on the brink. However, if you have complete death, then all is in spirit, and eventually heaven will come. It'll be a rebirth. I don't know. When I try to see past into that future, you know, I see into heaven what heaven is, but when I try to see past the world of man and their kind, there's like a block, and I'm like, damn it, damn it, damn it, you know. And and the spirits around me, they want me to pay attention to them, or they want to show me this or that, and I'm like, kind of trying to see past this, and of course they get upset because I don't want to listen to them, and I'm like, what they do isn't important. But they are like children, and I'm like, yeah, that are growing up in a very dirty world. Look, I don't have any judgments when it comes to devils, demons, spirits, or whatever. Whatever the dark or light creatures, I'm not, I don't put one above the other. However, it does come to the point where I'm just really kind of seeing what's beyond this world, you know? But that's basically what the spirits, I'm like, there's dark spirits, there's light spirits, and they do fight, and they do try to put themselves above each other, and they do try to have rankings and stuff like that. I guess that would be, one would say they're of heaven, some, the dark would say they're of hell, and of course, if the light creatures were giving complete control, then they would turn into darkness. That's just the way it is. Because they would have a power struggle too. They were only born into the light because of the world around them of who they were. But their world died too. It's like, I'm pretty sure this is a dead world, and that everybody ends up here for some reason, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's the mother world. That's why everybody ends up here. And if you look into, when I try to look into the different realms, I see death. It's like a tower that shoots up, but I see death in all of them. I'm like, it's like they're just gonna fall all into this world, and I'm like, maybe that's the whole point, is this is all gonna die and pass away, and then there's going to be a rebirth, and it's just gonna go like another, I guess what they would call the Big Bang in the first place, and that would be a rebirth. That would be wonderful. But everybody ends up here anyways. But I'm told that I was chosen, and I'm gonna get a second chance of life, and I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I'm not sure how that entails. I'm like, well, do I get to know what I know now? And I get told I'm the head, like as in the mind, I'm like, okay. But that would be great, because I could be a mind, a universal mind that helps others in understanding and knowing and I know why things are the way they are. But believe me, that is such a big place to be, as the mind of all, to the choices. You know what I'm saying? I was like, the mind of all, the body. It's a huge body. Just like this body, if my hands aren't working right, then, I can't do around me. If my feet aren't working right, I can't go. If my head ain't on my shoulders the right way, then I can't think. If I don't have my heart in the right place, and I'm just emotionally a wreck. And it's my body is a big responsibility, and I'm filled with so much. There's life all over me, just not that I can see. I'm bigger than this. And I guess I'm going to shoot up to the mind, to a universal place when I go. And I want to make the best choices. If I'm a universal mind and, it's not really having charge, they're all children. It's not really power trip. It's making the best choices so that everybody can thrive in a heavenly state of being. Can't be biased. There's not really children. They're all children. So, this was a test. Like, the children I had here were not really just my children. It was just a test to see how I would do with children. And they keep on trying to explain that to me, and I was like, no, I want my children. I don't want to be a part of a test, This is still my life experience. And in my life experience, they've been so mean to me, Put me through trials and tests, and, I was told, just a couple of days ago that was all in the name of research, and I was pissed. Man, was I pissed. All in the name of research. I was like, oh, don't use me as a guinea pig. And, of course, I struck out and I received, wrath back, but still I was given a promise. A rainbow came and I was given a promise, but at the same time I was like, stop fucking with me in the name of science. It's like never ending. They just want to keep on fucking with me. Even though I know my place, they can't determine my place. They can put me through tests, trials, and tribulations, but they can't tell me where to fucking go. I am who I am. They aren't above me, but they put me through, it's like, they treat us like rats in a fucking cage. And they watch us. And they think they're above us, but they're not. And I don't put them above, but they're going to fall into their own world. And they're going to be devoured. Y'all hear me? You're going to fall into your own device. And they think they're witty and smart and charming and stuff like that, and they use others as instruments. But they're nothing. Y'all are going to fall, fuckers. They use this world as their playground, their wicked playground. They try to mislead the spirits so they can eat them and stay alive. You can get people to try to sell their souls, but you can't really buy a soul. You can't buy life. That isn't how it works. When they make contracts and try to get people's souls and eat their spirits and stuff, what they're doing is they're just making a contract with the flesh. You can't possess the spirit. You can use the flesh as an instrument, but you can't possess the spirit. And they're going to fall into their own device, and it's going to be hell for them. Isn't that right? Y'all wicked pieces of shit. And they all mislead others out there and try to tell them about politics and religion and celebrity status, and all those are all wicked. Wicked. It's all a system created to mislead, so they can sit there and own the spirits and be above them. But they're being watched, and they will fall into their own device.